Marcus Chun wiped the grease from his hands and stepped back to admire his work. The power conduit that had been failing for 3 years now hummed with perfect efficiency, routing energy through a bypass system he'd jury-rigged from spare parts and sheer stubbornness. 6 months ago, the Kytherian mining station Deep Echo had been a death trap waiting to happen. Now it was running better than it had in decades. "Impossible," muttered Station Commander Velcon as she watched her displays show green across all systems for the first time in her 20-year tenure. The power output is actually exceeding original specifications. Her second-in-command, a younger Kytherian named Jax High, nodded in bewilderment. The atmospheric processors haven't worked this efficiently since the station was built. And the artificial gravity, it's so stable I forgot it was artificial. They were discussing the human, of course. Marcus Chun, the engineer who should have been dead. The hegemony had abandoned the station during their retreat, taking every piece of valuable equipment and every skilled technician. Except for Marcus, who'd been trapped in a collapsed maintenance shaft during the evacuation. By the time the Kytherians had liberated the station, they'd assumed any human left behind would have died from life support failure. Instead, they'd found Marcus emerging from the engineering decks, covered in grime but very much alive, having single-handedly prevented the station's complete systems collapse. "We should have left him to die," Commander Velcon had told her superiors at first. "Humans are the enemy." But then the food processors broke down, threatening starvation for the entire station. Marcus had fixed them in 4 hours using components from a broken communications array. When a main power grid failed completely, he'd rerouted everything through the emergency systems and somehow increased overall efficiency. Each crisis became an opportunity for him to prove his war. Now, as Commander Velcon reviewed the engineering reports, she realized the scope of what the human had accomplished was staggering. "Commander," Jaxai reported, "I'm getting a transmission from Kytherian Command. They want to know how we're achieving these performance metrics." Velcon smiled grimly. "Tell them we have a secret weapon." Down in Engineering Level 7, Marcus was training a group of young Kytherian technicians in proper maintenance procedures. Despite the language barrier and the fact that their species had been at war just months ago, he was somehow managing to communicate complex engineering concepts through gestures, sketches, and an infinite supply of patience. "See, the problem isn't the components," Marcus explained, pointing at a schematic he'd hand-drawn. "It's the integration. Your people build excellent individual systems, but they don't talk to each other efficiently. These modifications create feedback loops that optimize power distribution automatically." Technara, the youngest of his impromptu students, clicked her mandibles in understanding. "You made the station smarter?" "Exactly. Instead of fighting its own systems, it's working with them. Like a symphony instead of noise." The door chimed, and Commander Velcon entered. The Kytherian technicians immediately snapped to attention, but Marcus just nodded politely and continued working on his latest project, a water recycling improvement that would increase their fresh water output by 30%. "Engineer Chun," the commander said formally, "I've received orders from Kytheria High Command." Marcus looked up, his expression carefully neutral. "Yes, ma'am. They want to know if you'd be willing to inspect other liberated stations. It seems your modifications have been noticed at the highest levels." Marcus glanced at his students, then at the perfectly functioning systems around him. "Will I be able to bring my team?" "Your team." He gestured to the young Kytherians. "These folks learn fast, and they understand the systems better than anyone. I can fix things, but they're the ones who'll keep them running." Commander Velcon studied the human who had turned her dying station into a marvel of engineering efficiency, who had transformed enemies into students, and who spoke of Kytherian technicians as his team. "I think," she said slowly, "that can be arranged." As Marcus smiled and turned back to his work, Velcon realized that perhaps the greatest thing he'd rebuilt wasn't the station at all. It was the possibility of peace between their species, one perfectly calibrated system at a time.